Best of r/Tales from Retail episode 19. Don't know if this is the right place to post this, but I wanted to share the story. So at this gas station I used to work at, I did night shift. Usually 11 PM to 6 AM. Not terrible hours, but as anyone who works night shift in retail can corroborate, it can definitely drain you quickly. I try to have a little fun while I work to combat this. One example is that when I get cigarettes, I usually flip the box a few times. Customers usually think it's a fun thing to do and it's obviously fun for me. I no longer do this. Here's why. This one night, I had been up for over 24 hours. Not healthy, I'm aware, but sometimes it just happens. So I was already very tired. Customers had been irritable all night for whatever reason and it honestly felt like every little thing was going wrong. The credit card machines broke down, so we were cash only. The sink overflowed randomly, and to this day, I still don't know how. The pumps decided they were gonna stop printing out receipts. The morning shift person called off in the middle of the night because she was sick, so I was gonna be forced to stay until at least 10 AM with the manager, who comes in at 5 AM. You get the idea. I was having my very own no good very bad night. I was trying to stay in good spirits though. So around 3 AM, this guy comes in. We'll call him C for customer. C did not smell like alcohol or weed. Usually people that come in at that time smell like one of the two, but he seemed totally sober, just really annoyed. He asked for cigarettes. When I went to do my normal flip, I thought it might be fun to try a big one. Also thought it might cheer him up a bit, so I did a bit of a bigger one than normal and caught it. I was actually pretty proud of myself. Big mistake. C did not find it amusing and just went completely crazy, cursing up a storm and conjuring up every insult known to the English language as well as a number of other ones. I'm sure he was not happy that I flipped his cigarettes and demanded a new pack for free. I told him I would get him a new one, but he'd still have to pay for it. I apologized and grabbed a new one. This guy never let up though. He kept insulting me and calling me names. Asking how a toddler like me got a job at a gas station. How if I want to flip things, I should be the star act of a modern freak show. Those are some paraphrased examples of the vile crap he spewed at me. Paraphrased, because he used much more colorful language. Trust me, I was close to flipping out myself, so I sternly told him to just give me his money so I could ring him up and he could go on his merry way. He did not like that. Apparently my suggestion just irked him. That said, he did try to pay. Remember when I said the credit machine was down? Yeah, he tried to pay with a card. Keep in mind I put a giant sign up that said cash only on the door. He once again flipped out at me and I just told him to shut up and give me his money. He gave me his cash. But once again, he did not let up in the slightest. Now just a bit of backstory. I'm autistic, and was bullied for a good portion of grade school because of it. So I have thicker skin than most. But after I rang him up and was grabbing his change, C said something that was very derogatory to people like me. Not that he had any idea I was autistic, and that probably makes it worse. I immediately snapped and threw his change at the counter. I screamed at him to get out of my store and quickly walked around the counter to go in the back and calm down. I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe he thought I was trying to come at him instead of away from him. But before I could turn to walk in the back, he stomped right up to me and got in my face. I demanded that he leave, as I didn't want things to escalate further. He asked me if that was a threat. I said no, a promise. He asked if I thought I was tough enough to fight him. I told him I wouldn't need to be tough to fight him, and once again to leave. He shoved me hard enough that I stumbled back a few feet. Shocked that he actually laid his hands on me, I lost it. I bolted right back in his face and I screamed at him to get out. Now, I practically chased him all the way to the door, and then slammed it open, nearly breaking the glass door on the trash can. He went through the door, then I pointed to his car and told him to get in the vehicle, leave, and if I ever saw him again I'd call the police. I made it very clear that I was done with his crap when he tried to open his mouth again and I took out my phone to start dialing the police. It didn't take him long to get in the car and leave then. Not before saying he'd talk to my manager though. I said I didn't care. There was actually a customer at a pump and he heard the entire screaming match once we got outside. He had to come in to get his receipt, and he said that he was proud people like me still stand up to people like C. That made me feel a lot better, but I'll tell you one thing. I have never flipped a single pack of cigarettes since that night. Thank you. Next. I just remembered this from Halloween and started laughing, so I figured you guys might like to hear it. I'm a cashier, and my favorite customer told me that the teal or blue pumpkin on Halloween items means that they're allergen safe and / or autism friendly. It's pretty uncommon knowledge in my area, so I decided to share it with others. The way she said Down syndrome with an unnecessary S was pretty funny, too. A customer, C, came through. She was an older lady, probably in her late 50s 60s. The snippet of conversation went something like this. Me, did you know that the teal pumpkin on that item means it's safe for kids with allergies or autism? If you see a kid with a teal pumpkin, don't scare them and try to give them more allergen friendly candy. C, oh yeah, my grandson has Down syndrome. He likes to draw and I seen a coloring book in there. Me, oh, so he's artistic. That's really cool. C, oh, he has Down syndrome. Me, artistic. He likes to draw and color, right? C, slower. He has Down syndrome. Me, I think you're thinking of autism. Artistic. Like art, drawing, painting, singing, stuff like that. C, oh, well, maybe. Have a good day. Me, LOL you too. Happy Halloween. Bonus story, another lady was bragging on her grandson. He's smart as a tack. That is all. Small edit for grammar. Thank you. Next. So I work at the customer service desk at a supermarket. We are a Western Union agent. Yesterday, a lady came up to the desk with 2 completely filled out Western Union money orders that we also sell. I need to send these via Western Union. So I replied, do you mean you'd like to do a money transfer? Money orders are not sent via Western Union. Yes they are. I need to transfer these Western Union. Me, money transfer is different than sending a money order. Money transfer is when you pay us to wire money to another Western Union location. A money order is kind of like a check. You fill it out to the person you are paying and they cash it, trying my best to not be condescending. Then how do I cash these? Me, the money orders are addressed to be paid out to another person, like a check. That person would have to cash it. But he lives in another country. You have to give me my money back, idiot. Me, I'm sorry, I'm not an idiot. You should have asked questions before completing a transaction that you didn't know anything about. Man with light skin tone shrugging. Storms off. Thank you. Next. For context, I work in a cafe, and this story happened earlier today. We often have a lot of kids come in as we do a mini hot chocolate for pretty cheap. Today, a little girl came in and asked for one of these hot chocolates. The girl was maybe 3 or 4, presumably had been sent by her parents with some change so they didn't have to bother to get up. Except, when I went to take her change she didn't have enough. As these drinks are really cheap, she was only about 20p short. Just as I was about to give it to her for free. Hey, if the bosses can't see you, right? An elderly woman in the queue behind her asked how much are you short, dear? And proceeded to pay for the little girl's drink, plus cream. Around Christmas time, customers are generally really rude and this exchange actually made my day, as silly as that may sound. So I told the old woman that her drink was on the house. She broke into the biggest smile, thanked me profusely, and put the money she was handing over to me to pay for her own drink in the tips jar. Sometimes I love working in retail. Thank you. Next. At my last retail job, I only came across a counterfeit bill once in my 3.5 years there. A couple came in to make a payment on their layaway. The woman handed me a $20 bill. As usual, I passed the counterfeit pen over it and lo and behold, a big black line. I was actually shocked. I swiped the pen over the bill again. Black line. The woman starts to loudly object, but her husband leans over and whispers something in her ear. I call a workmate over to check me. Another swipe, another black line. I then get what's going on and proceed to cover the bill in little doodles, stars, hearts, the old school 3D box. I then hand the bill back to them and tell them that I can't accept it. They quietly leave, and my co-worker and I share a good laugh. Yeah, I know I should have turned the bill in, but that job wore me down to the point of not caring. At least the bill was ruined. Thank you. Next. To set things up, for our registers, people form one line, then they branch out to the next available register. Coupons in play take off an amount from your total if you meet the minimum threshold, for example, $10 or $30 or more. We had more types that we had been handing out for the last month or so. I was at the last register at the very end, when my next set of customers approach. It's a husband and wife duo. The wife has a bag of clothes, which she decides to take about half of the stuff, and leave the other half, through a long dance of pick and chose. As for the husband, he has only 2 things that he wanted to get for himself. They were paying separately, so the husband decides to go back to the front of the line, because he had a coupon that he found. At one point, I get a glimpse of the coupon in his hand, and turns out, it was a sign. It was one that broke down what each coupon stood for and how much you would get off if you had a certain type of coupon. I let him know that sadly, that wasn't a coupon that he could use, but rather a sign. He wasn't having it. I finished with his wife, so he came to my register and I had to repeat that he couldn't use the sign as a coupon, as each coupon has a unique barcode and there's no way for me to just give it to him. Apparently, my word was just not good enough, and he wanted to speak to my manager. As we waited for her, he said that we shouldn't have things lying about in the store, and that we had to honor it. My manager came up, and repeated the exact thing I said, that he couldn't use the sign as a coupon. The whole exchange surprisingly didn't have a voice raised, but just to show how mad he was, the guy ripped the sign up and carefully placed it by the register. I honestly didn't know how to react. Thank you. Next. So I work at a shoe store. We have a clearance section. The clearance shoes have a price tag that say the original full price and then a sticker above that that says what amount they are discounted. 30%, 40%, 50%, etc. There's a sign in the clearance section that displays what all the discounted prices would be off of any price shoe, so customers don't even need to do math. This confuses the hell out of people. The other day a woman came up to the front counter with $70 shoes that were discounted 70% and asked what price they would be. We'll call her Susan. Me, those would be $21. Susan, no, they'd be free. 70% off of $70. Me, no, they'd be $21. Doing the math out loud, because 10% off of $70 is $7 off and multiplying that by 7 gets. Susan, they are 70% off, not 10%. Me, I know, I'm just explaining the math. Susan, they're free. At this point I grabbed a calculator and showed her all the steps to get to $21. She didn't seem convinced and ended up not buying the shoes.